You have decided to drive. How can you say, I'm ready to drive? Are you fit to drive legally and physically? Who has the right to determine who can drive? In Ghana, the body mandated to regulate driving is the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority. The DVLA has two main functions, even though they perform other auxiliary functions. Their first function is to license vehicles. Their second function is to license drivers. Today, our main concern is on licensing drivers. For licensing vehicle, I'll do a separate video on it. How do we talk about licensing drivers? You see, before you decide to drive, the DVLA is saying that you must be able to answer three main questions. One, are you physically and mentally fit to drive? Two, do you have the right age? Three, do you have the right educational background? When we talk of your physical and mental abilities, you see, driving is a physical act with emotional support, which is done in a public space. You see, a road is a public space. You are not alone. So if there are some physical factors that will impede your judgment, then you are not supposed to be on the road. The first one I'll talk about is your sight. You see, in driving, over 70% of the decisions you'll be making depends on what you can see. If you don't see somebody is crossing the road, you drive and go and knock the person down. If you don't see there's a speed ramp ahead of you, you keep speeding and go and crash into it. If you don't see there's a road sign which is saying sharp curve ahead, you keep speeding and you go and crash in the curve. So your sight is so keen that as a driver, if you don't have the right sight, you are not supposed to drive. So for instance, anytime you go to the DVLA to start your license process or to renew your license, you will still be subjected to an eye test. DVLA has some approved eye test centers that you have to go to get your sight checked. So your sight is very keen. Apart from your sight, if you have one hand cut off, it disqualifies you from driving, especially a manual vehicle. Because you see, the rule is that as a driver, under no circumstances should you leave your steering wheel unattended to. So you must always have at least one hand on the steering wheel. So assuming you are driving a manual car and you have one hand on your steering wheel, which other hand are you going to use to change your gears? Because assuming the right hand is cut off, you have the left. So the left is on the steering wheel. How are you going to change your gears? So it will therefore disqualify you from driving if you have one hand cut off. Somebody may say it's discrimination, but you see, driving is not a right. Driving is a privilege that the state is extending to you. Because driving is so crucial that your mistake can cost a lot of lives. You see, if a doctor is to make a mistake in a surgical ward, most of the time it's only one person who will die. But if a driver makes a mistake, assuming he is driving a bus, like a VIP bus, about 40 people can lose their life, even in addition to the other car that he crashed with. So you see, driving is not something we must take for granted. Driving is important because driving can kill more than even a doctor can kill in a theater room when he makes a mistake. So you must be physically fit. We can also talk of your leg. If you are driving a manual car especially, you need your two legs because the left leg is devoted for controlling your clutch and the right leg for controlling your brakes and the accelerator. Assuming you need to stop in traffic, you are supposed to step on your clutch down with your left leg and your brake down with your right leg. So assuming you have only one leg, which leg are you going to use to step on the clutch and which one will you use to step on the brake? So that will disqualify you from driving. Then also somebody who has epilepsy. You see, when you have epilepsy, you don't know when the epileptic attack will come. The seizure can happen at any moment. So, assuming you have an epilepsy, you are driving on the motorway with a speed of about 100 kilometers per hour, and you convulse and you are unconscious or you can't control the car. What happens? The car is going to wander off and crash into other people's cars. So, because you don't know when the epileptic attack will come, then the DVLA is saying that don't drive if you have epilepsy. Then there are other mental factors. You know, I said it's physical and mental ability. You see, in driving, most of the time you'll be making decisions. You have to decide, I need to slow down, I have to increase my speed. He has stopped, I need to turn. Okay, there's a speed ramp. So you are constantly making decisions. So if you are in a situation where you can't make sound decision, you are therefore disqualified from driving. So somebody who is insane cannot drive. If you are under stress, you must not drive because you will kill yourself and affect other road users. If you have a headache, you are sick, and you can't concentrate, you must not drive. So all these situations are mental factors that disqualifies you from driving. So I'll leave it there. In another lecture, I'll take them further. So this is what is called your physical and mental ability. Your second thing you must consider is your age. Even though in some way people can debate it, but generally it's believed that the more you grow, the more your ability to make sound decisions on your own. So if, let's say you allow a 12-year-old who has body, he has the height, he can sit in the car and see ahead of him to go and sit beside the steering wheel and he's driving, most of the time, this 12 years old, when they want to do something in the house, they'll say, Mommy, should I do this? Mommy, should I wear these clothes? Mommy, my teacher said this. So most of the decisions they are making, they need their mother or their father to approve it. So if you have such a child sitting behind the steering wheel, is it now that somebody has crossed him and he's going to call daddy for daddy to tell him whether to slow down, whether to swerve or do something? So if that happens, then the accident will happen before he will have the chance for mommy to intervene. So the law is saying that wait until you achieve maturity age when we are sure you can make sound decisions on your own before you are allowed to drive. Apart from that, if somebody who is a minor is driving and he crashed into somebody or knocked somebody and killed the person, he is a minor. He cannot be charged with manslaughter. So such a person, to avoid such inconsistencies in the law, where you cannot be held responsible for your action, then the law is saying, wait, achieve legal maturity age where you can be held responsible for your action before you go onto the road to drive. And in Ghana, our legal maturity age is 18. So in Ghana, you cannot obtain a license to drive if you are not 18 years or above. So that is what we mean by the age. Then finally, education. I'm going to drive. What does education has to do with driving? Education plays a role because you say the road I told you is a public space. You are not alone. So there must be rules and regulations governing the road. If you write the rules and the regulations in the book, it means you have to spend time and read anywhere you get to a road. So we have found a way where the rules have been captured on the road itself through the use of the road signs. The road signs, even though some are in symbols, there are yet others which are in writing. So maybe one may say, oh, I will get somebody to tell me if I see a circle in the form of arrows, it means it's a roundabout. Fine. But yet there are still others which are in writing. When you see them, you must be able to read them. So example, road closed. If you cannot read, even though they've written road closed, maybe they've dug a pit across the road, you still go beyond the road and you go and crash into the pit. Road diversion, slow down, toll booth ahead. All these things, as a driver, you should be able to read before you can know what to do. So the rule is that you must be able to read before you can be given a license to drive. And that is the reason why the DVLA brought in the theory or the CBT, the theory session. So before you get a license to drive, you must do a theory exam, which is done on the computer. Even though the law does not seek to test your computer skills, but that is how it is. So if you want to be successful, in a way, you must also be computer literate to be able to correct the right answers. So you must be educated. And the law says that you must have at least a JHS certificate or adult education. So the emphasis is on your ability to read. So this is what you must consider before you take your car or you go to a driving school to learn how to drive. So I'm asking you, are you physically and mentally fit? Do you have the right age? Do you have the right educational background that can you read? And if you can do this, then I tell you, you are ready to drive. Meet me in the next lecture and we will talk about if I'm ready to drive, what are some of the expectations which is needed of me. This is Richway Driving School. My name is Dominic Adair. I will be your tutor, and from now on, we'll be considering driving aspects and various aspects. If you want to reach Richway Driving School, you can call us on 0242 151659. 0242 151659. Meet you in the next class. Bye bye.